Welcome to another episode of the Helpside Basketball Show. Today we have a father and son combo. This is the number one starting backcourt. They're in Memphis, I believe. You guys are in
Yes, sir.
Memphis.
Mhm.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right into it. And if there's time in between some of the questions that I want to ask, we can go sideways, we can keep going forward, we can go backwards, just free flowing, guys. So thank you so much for making time, guys. I know you guys are both pretty busy people, so we're just gonna get right into it. Is that cool?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right. So Alvaro, we first met Diego when he was around 11 or 12. You brought him to me at the gym. And why did you think it was important to seek private training for him?
Yeah. So growing up doing a lot of different sports, I always, learn the sports on my own, but that's not in 2020, in this 2025, 2026, these days, it's just not something, it's such a technical sport that you need structure, you need proper repetition, you need to break it down like you do. You scientifically need to put it together and say, okay, listen, this is what you're doing good. This is what you're doing good. And so you need a professional. I mean, I taught him basic things, but I'm not a professional. That's not my, and so, and this applies to anything, right? And you need to bring it. That's why I brought it to you, because you were the professional, and you were highly recommended by everybody as somebody who took very minute attention to detail. And so I wanted that for him. Very, very skilled stuff, because the other stuff, the athleticism and all that stuff, will come over time.
Mm-hmm. No, and I appreciate that, because the first time I met Diego, after 5 minutes, I realized that, Diego, you were like super coordinated. So I think that was like testament to being a multi-sport athlete. And can you talk a little bit about the sports you played growing up, and just how you realized that basketball was going to be the thing that you stuck with?
Yeah. So I started off actually with soccer and baseball. That was like the first sports I was introduced with, and I always balanced multiple sports at a time. Like even though I was playing soccer and baseball, I would do basketball on the side, and I really it came to an age where even though I was playing soccer and baseball and basketball, as soon as I finished soccer, I was rushing to go play basketball right after. As soon as I finished baseball, rushing to go play basketball. Like it always went back to basketball, and that was my calling for me. That's what I enjoyed doing the most, no matter what I was doing.
And why basketball? Like, was it the competition? Was it the creativity? What was different about basketball than baseball and soccer?
So for soccer, you have to play like really one position. You have to play your role. It's very stationary. I'm a very active guy. I love to move. I'm very hyper, as you know, and I like the chaos of basketball, where it's up and down, up and down. There's no stop to it. You always have to be playing, and it was like that for baseball too. Sometimes you could be in the outfield and you won't see a ball for the entire game, and to me it was just boring. So I like the intensity of basketball.
And Alvaro, ever since I've known you, you've always looked to put Diego in the best possible environment, for him to be challenged. There's a lot of parents that kind of sit back and let the kids lead everything and, make all the decisions. Then there's parents like yourself that are very strategic in their approach and want the best possible outcome for their kid. Can you talk a bit about your approach to that?
So, I mean, I cannot say that there's a good way or a bad way. Every parent has to make their own decisions depending on their circumstances. In my case, I try to take, I'm an engineer by trade, and I try to take an engineering approach, which is you have to try and break things down. You have to try and put your kid and look at the foundations, right? So, I try to put him in track and field to get, more athletic and to develop that area. I brought it to you for the skilling part. I would go and make him run hills with me and do things and plyometrics at home, and things like that. Just so, because basketball it's a multi-dimensional 360-degree sport, and it's so resource intensive that you have to break it down into different pieces. So for me specifically, I needed him to be with the best of the best at what they do, which in this case of skilling is you. And then from there you start building the layers of the rest of the stuff. And then you go and prepare. So I think that's for me now. Obviously, I also have a bit of street smart because I've been around for a while. Um, and, and I also realize that, kids cannot make this, especially this day and age. There's a lot of, commercial elements to basketball, so they cannot make decisions on their own. And there's also, there's 99% of the people are great, but there's also, some sharks out there, right? So you always have to, I let him do his own thing because he's a high social IQ guy. He talks to coaches. He does his own recruiting, his own things, right? But then when it comes down to making the big decisions, he comes to me. We talk it over, and then I advise him. But he's learned a lot, and so I think that's important. It doesn't matter what, even if you're not a basketball person. I'm not a basketball
Mhm.
expert, but you have to be
Mhm.
able to understand what your kid is doing, where they're going, where there's an environment where it's a good fit for him or her, right? As
Mhm.
opposed to just going and following a brand or following a hype, right? It has to
Mhm.
be a good fit. That's probably the best lesson I've ever learned. It's got to be a
Mhm.
good fit for your kid, and the kid has to be a good fit for that organization, and vice versa.
Mhm. Okay. And now, Diego, you've played prep basketball in Ottawa. You played prep basketball in Toronto. Now you're in West Virginia at Huntington Prep. Can you describe the major differences between playing in Canada versus playing in the States?
Yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, ever since I started playing basketball on the team, I've always wanted to play versus the best of the best talent. Like, I started locally, of course, in my hometown of Gatineau. Then I went to Ottawa across the bridge. Then when I
Mhm.
kind of got comfortable there, then to Toronto, and then I've just every year I'm trying to scale up. I'm trying to keep playing better and better and better competition. And
Mhm.
I would say the main difference between Canada and the U.S. is really just the talent pool in terms of how many good players there is anywhere and
Mhm.
everywhere. Like
Mhm.
a great team in Canada, growing up, you'll see about 2 to 3 university athletes. In the
Mhm.
U.S., an average team will have about 5 to 6,
Mhm.
and that's just a testament to how many players and how the development is in the U.S. as well. But yeah,
Mhm.
I just keep trying to level up, keep trying to play better talent every year.
Mhm. Now you're on the AU circuit with Grassroots Elite. Am I wrong? Is that
Correct,
the
correct.
AU
Mm.
circuit? Okay. And so you now hold two Division One offers, one at Holy Cross and Fresno State. You're one of the most exciting PGs, in my opinion, on the circuit in terms of making the right reads in transition, creating scoring opportunities at all three levels, and of course finishing above the rim nowadays. Um, what like what parts of your game do you feel like you need to improve on over the course of this summer and going into September in your final year of high school?
Mm. Yeah, so ever since I started playing basketball, I've always been a big film guy. I've always took what I've seen online and through film and applied it to my game. That's how I learned all my basic skills with
Mhm.
dribbling, shooting, finishing. I've seen it all on social media and through YouTube and through different media outlets, and I applied it to my
Mhm.
game. And now what I'm realizing is the great point guards right now are always playing off 2 feet. So that's something I'm
Mhm.
really trying to improve because I'm I could blow by just about anybody and get to the rim, but sometimes I'm taking off from 1 foot way too far and I'm putting myself in a bad position. I'm limiting my other options. Like maybe there's a guy in the corner I need to kick out to, but I think now as my game is starting to mature, I'm starting to play off 2 feet a lot more so I could slow the game down a little, use my body a little more, and just make better reads and more controlled reads.
Mhm. And Dad, over the years, I've seen him develop. Obviously, you've seen him develop. What do you think are the major parts of his game that he needs to work on more?
So he obviously, as he transitions and goes into the next stage of preparing for college bodies,
Mhm.
um, when he's talking about playing off 2 feet, is that contact, that physicality, that element. I mean, he's already, 6'3", 180 pounds, but he's got to get to that, be more physical and be able to absorb. He's able to meander through people because he's,
Mhm, mhm,
very agile and explosive and whatnot. But I think there's going to come to a point in time where a lot of those other people are going to be, either as athletic or more athletic. But then now it's going to be the strength part of it, right? How much
mhm,
can you absorb contact and still finish? How much can you, bump somebody, kind of like the Nemhard brothers do, and
mhm,
kind of like
mhm.
the point guard in New York does, right? And using that. But for
Yep.
that, you need physicality. So, I mean, Diego is a late bloomer, as you know, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And so now his body, I see an enormous change in his body in the last year, where I mean, he's just playing above the rim a lot, which is great. So the
mhm,
explosion, the
mhm,
strength, I can see that. He needs to
mhm,
continue to build on that
mhm,
throughout the summer so that, he
mhm,
can get to that 190-pound, 195-pound neighborhood without losing that
mhm.
stuff and becoming
Right.
strength so he can absorb that physicality of grown men in college.
Mhm. And Diego, since I've known you, your confidence has always been, I think, one of your biggest assets. Sometimes, when we play overconfident, just, between you and I. But
Yeah, yeah.
you've always had that confidence, that swagger and that belief in yourself. Where does that come from?
Yeah, it's really just like I know how much work I put in. Like I know how long I've been playing basketball and how many times I've done drills, just continuous reps of these things, and I know that I know every situation that's going to be thrown at me. I have a reaction to everything. Like I'm
Mhm,
in control at all times, and just having that control and knowing that I could really do whatever I want on the court, it just gives me
mhm.
an insane sense of confidence.
And is it a little bit of, I don't know, sometimes they say you kinda have to be a little bit delusional
That's
when,
right. That's
when
right.
you're is there a little bit of that involved?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I would say so. I bet myself versus anybody, and I've every time I play somebody, I think I'm better than them, and I think that's a good way to go into it. Like, you
Mhm.
can be humble but still confident. I think that's what I am. I'm not in people's faces. I'm not talking trash. I'm quiet when I'm playing. I'm just letting my game speak for itself.
And Alvaro, by no means is Diego a finished product in terms of, like, his growth and development as a young man. What's been the biggest improvement? Obviously, we talk about his skills, but as a young man now, living on his own again in the States, what is the biggest part of his personality that has improved or grown or evolved since, in the past year or 2?
Think his maturity as a young man, as you hear him talk, right, and you yourself, have known him for a long time, you can see a dramatic difference, right? This is a young man talking and communicating very articulately compared to, the kid that was talking about,
Mhm.
butterflies and different things before.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I think that's a big part. For example, where he is right now in Huntington, it used to be when he was in academies before, they would have a chaperone. Where he is right now, he's the chaperone of the other kids. He's in charge of the house. He's the one
Mhm.
that, when I do check-ins with the principal and the school and the coaches, hey, everybody loves Diego. Diego is an example to everybody. So that leadership part outside of basketball and growing into a young man and being an example to others,
Mhm.
dramatic change and dramatic growth of the last year on the human aspect outside of basketball.
Mm. Mhm. Because once you hit the recruiting trail, that we'll talk about that in a second. There's a lot of universities that are watching for the small little subtleties of character and who you are as a person, how much you're encouraging your teammates, how much are you picking your teammates off the floor, instead of getting on your teammates. Do you think that is, as a lead guard, I don't know if they even use PG anymore, lead guard, scoring guard like yourself,
Hmm.
do you think you need to continue to develop that part of your game in terms of, obviously your dad spoke about the leadership off the court at Huntington and being an example for the rest of the players there. Is that something that you value or you're still working on?
No, I definitely am still working on that because I know that's going to be something translatable to all levels, whether it's college or professional basketball is going to be translatable. And I've been fortunate to be able to go on some big time visits. Like I've been on a visit to NC State and TCU, and I've been able to see their practice. And from point guard to center, everybody's talking. Leadership is translatable skill, not just to basketball, but to life. So I think it's important to
Mhm.
always keep working on it and tuning it up.
Yeah, well, you kinda stole my thunder for the next question. When you're dad, you know what? I'll ask your dad, now that he's kind of on the recruiting trail, in terms of visiting different universities, what are you looking for in a school? Is again, you spoke earlier about the fit. It has to be the right fit for him and for the team, and it has to be the right environment. Are there things that are on top of, at the top of your list for him?
Yeah. So outside of the basic, what I call first principles, which is, it's not just basketball, right? It's everything about whether it's dating or whether it's a job. It has to be a good fit for him. He has to be in a place where they see value, but where he's able to give value to that organization, right?
Mhm,
In his style, because not everybody's the same, right? And
mhm,
it's not just about him. It's about that two-way. That organization needs to be an organization that values the type of kid and the type of basketball he plays, a particular way of basketball, right?
mhm,
And then you find a match, and then okay, great. And if it's not a good match, that's
mhm,
okay. That's fine. You go move on to
mhm,
the another one.
mhm,
But on the human aspect, it has to be, where he's surrounded by people like you, people that are looking to develop the human, right? That
mhm,
he's a young man, he's grown a lot, as you can see the way he talks, but he still needs people around him to give him that
mhm,
growth mindset, to continue to atomically build the layers that will continue to make him grow even higher as a human. And so
mhm,
I'm looking
mhm,
for that too. And I'm looking for transparent, honest, humble people, not, people that are looking to tear people apart, people that are looking to construct these young men, because this is the future, right? So we need these people, whether it's in basketball or
mhm,
when basketball finish, to be able to contribute to society. So we need people
mhm,
around them that is not just going to be basketball is everything. We need the whole human. And so that's what's important
mhm,
for me. And I know for him
mhm,
as well, it's important because he's a very social guy. And part of being a
mhm,
social guy is he needs to feel that loved and he will give that love back.
mhm. No, and that's a very valuable, and Diego, I hope you're listening to that because
100%.
this is the essence of growth as a human, because basketball, I mean, the ball will stop bouncing eventually, and then you may transition to a different basketball role. But at the end of the day, getting to the next level after basketball or even during basketball is all about who you are as a person. I've interviewed a lot of people, and the common theme across all interviews is the person and how they communicate with the people around them and how they feel that they can grow in that environment. So for yourself, like, you heard what your dad just said in
Mhm.
terms of the environment and the people that he wants around you. Do you feel the same things?
Yeah, the main thing, it has to feel like a family. It has to feel like a family. It has to feel like he said, like I'm wanted, and there has to be a mutual love connection in terms of we're gonna get something out of each other. We're gonna make each other better, and I think that's really
Mhm,
important nowadays, especially with the transfer portal and people are coming in and out, in and out, in and out. I think that if you find a good home and a good place to stay, you should stay there,
mhm,
and I think like, those relationships are really important because you never know what
mhm,
people be, when you're done there. People move up, people move
mhm,
down, so it's important to build
mhm,
relationships at every step of your careers or path or whatever.
mhm, and so, like, right now, obviously, the goal is, D1, high major, all the good stuff.
Mhm,
Sometimes, in my experience so far, that a lot of kids shoot for the stars and they want that high major. They want that, they want that media picture with signed, committed with
Yeah, yeah.
a big power five behind them, and it looks
Mhm.
good, and all your friends are hitting you up, and you're feeling like the man. But then it all falls apart because they maybe chose because of all the external factors. And it sounds like you guys have a good idea of what you want. Does it
Mm.
have to be a power five? Can it be mid-major? Or are you still looking, what's your kind of mindset? And that's a question for both of you guys.
Yeah, so I'll answer first. Um,
Mm,
like we've been talking about, and like you've known me for years, I have a good support group around me, so I don't really need to impress other people. I don't the flashes and the lights and all that stuff is not really important to me. What's important to me is me. What's going to be the best for me. And I have an agency helping me with recruiting. I'm signed to an agency. I have my AAU coach, my prep coach. All these different people are helping me with that type of stuff. And
mhm,
the number one priority, like it's been said, it has to be fit. It has
mhm,
to be fit. So if
mm,
if I'm getting these looks by these high majors, but they're not prioritizing me, then I don't want to be there. I want to be where I'm my priority.
mhm. And dad, same thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, it's a journey, right? There's no, first of all, none of us are a finished product, right? We're always trying to
Mhm,
figure out, what can we improve. And so for him, he has to continue to uh, the word I use with him all the time is it's not about perfection, it's progression. So every time you
mhm,
go from one place to another, you have to progress. It doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It means that you are,
mhm,
1%, 2%, 3% better, right? And
mhm,
that's the idea here. The idea here is not, to aim for this. It's not that we're not limited by anything about aiming as high as we want to, but it's about
mhm,
at a particular point in time in that journey, what does he need and where is he a good fit? Both ways. It's
mhm,
not only about him, right? Both ways.
mhm,
And then if there's a match, just like dating, great. They can
mhm,
continue to date. But if there's like,
mm,
oh, okay, well, I like you 5 and you like me 10, where I don't have enough love for both of us. So it's not going to work.
mhm,
Thank you very much. We'll
mm,
continue on to the next
mhm.
date. And so
Right.
that's really the goal. But it doesn't matter the name of the organization is about, are they helping him grow in his basketball
Mhm,
love, in his human life, in all
mhm,
aspects of it, academically as well,
mhm,
right? So that he can learn to be
mhm,
a good, um, have a profession going forward. So all of those things are
mhm,
important, but keyword fit.
mhm. Listen, you guys are the first father and son duo, and I really appreciate you guys coming on and making time for Helpside Basketball Show. So I want to wish you guys, and I know you guys for a long time, but sometimes we kind of lose track, but don't ever think that I'm not thinking about you guys, because I really seen the growth from beginning till now, and I'm so happy to be a part of that, small part of that your journey, and continue success. Diego, dad, continue to be that dude, you know, with the camera filming and making sure that he's safe and getting to where he needs to get to, and just keep on doing the good work, all across the board.
Yes, sir.
Now we
Thank you. It's
appreciate
much
you.
appreciated.
And thank you
Mhm.
for the support. And you've been a part of Diego's journey since the beginning. You've been part of that growth element. You will continue to be part of that growth element as he continue forward. So we're not going anywhere. We're a Merrick. You're part of our inner circle. So we'll continue to lean on you and your advice.
Mm,
And you're
mm,
not only as a basketball person, but as a human, you've given Diego a lot of support, philosophically, and you talk to him and he listens to you, he respects you. So it takes a gigantic village, right, to get these
mhm.
kids right. And so you are a huge part of that. So we need you to continue to be a huge part of that so that we can get this young man and others like him to go out there and represent us and take the sport forward.
guys, it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure, and good luck this weekend. And
Yes, sir.
don't dunk on too many guys. Okay, save some for other people. Jeez. All right, you guys go well.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.